Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Review. I'm Phil Hargis. It's good to see you guys again. It is the first weekend of May, so you know what that means? It's Cinco de Mayo weekend, so we're here to have our fiesta. But it's not the kind of fiesta that you want to have. It's a horse racing fiesta. So we're here to talk about the Kentucky Derby. We're out here in Louisville, Kentucky right now, and we're going to have a great show breaking down the entire race. This is really one of my favorite shows of the year to do. Kentucky Derby, there's really no other horse race like that. Yeah, there's Breeders' Cup, and there's a bunch of races, but this is the Kentucky Derby, 20 horses. In the United States, you never see anything else like it. It really is something that everybody gravitates to around 6:30 on Saturday afternoon, the first weekend of May. Everybody loves watching the Derby, no matter who you are. It's just really a great time. So we're going to here to break it down. We have a really tough Kentucky Derby to break down this year, so we had to bring in the best of the best to help us do it. So we have sitting here in the studio, we have Justin Dew. Justin, it's great to see you again.
Every time I come here to give me a better intro, the best of the best, I know you mean Doug. But I'm happy to be here, too.
No, we definitely don't mean that about Doug. Doug, we're just kidding. But we do have Doug sitting by on Skype there. Doug is at his destination to be determined later, somewhere near Louisville, no doubt, getting ready for the Kentucky Derby. Doug, how's it going?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm in an office that they had open for me in Churchill Downs, so I don't have to leave the site. And I can do all my analysis here because, as you know, this time of year I do a lot of analysis.
You do? Are you up there in the gold room there on Millionaires Row right now, breaking it down?
It's not on the gold room. It's very nearby, though. I can't disclose the exact location, however.
You wouldn't want to do that. Well, listen, guys, we have 20 horses. I mean, this is going to be a big Derby. I mean, you guys have seen all the prep races. There's been a lot of prep races. If you haven't seen, you can definitely go to KentuckyDerby.com and check them out. There's other websites out there like horseraces.net. We have a lot of Cindy's graphics and statistics here on our graphics we're going to show you later, so we thank her in advance for that. But, there's a lot of information to be had out there. Like, how do you guys do this? Like, Justin, let's start with you. How do you start getting all the information that you need other than watching the races to start breaking down this race?
Well, you said it, watching the races. I think that's the most important thing. In this day and age, when you have really replays from every race that is run, every prep race, it's important to watch all of them and watch them more than once, I think. And then whether you're a fan of a daily racing form, past performances, or Brisnet like you have in front of you here, there's really no shortage of information. And I think that's led to a better informed horse player. And hopefully we'll be able to kind of tackle some of that here tonight.
And everybody can feel like a pro. Like, Doug, I know you talk about the grid a lot on the show. Tell us a little bit about the grid and the system that you have for handicapping the Derby.
Well, I agree with Justin. For one thing, there's really not a bigger substitute than watching the prep races and seeing how these horses stacked up against each other, in person visually. And what I do is I compile a grid which has like almost 100 different factors, and it's available at horseracebetwin.com, of course.
Looks
And
like that, Steve.
it just has factors that are you can compare past Kentucky Derby champions against all these factors and how they stacked up. And a certain number of factors obviously would be indicative of a Kentucky Derby champion.
Well, there you have it. And Steve, just in case you guys are wondering, this is what the grid is. That's what it looks like. Go to Horse Race Bet Win if you want to check out a little bit more about the grid. But we do have some of the best analysts in the business here. We've been doing this for an awfully long time. Justin, we'll just remind you guys, had the winner last year, Animal Kingdom, at what did he go off, like 25, 30 to 1?
It was about 20 to 1, yeah.
About 20 to 1. That's a nice score by any standard. We can get a horse to come in at a price above 10 to 1, let alone 21 in the Derby. Great take. And we'll get into wagering strategies later and how to go about doing that. But you guys, we only have half an hour. We've got 20 horses to cover, really 21 horses to cover that we'll probably try to get to here. So we're going to take you through them. And the horses are drawn. They drew the post positions on Wednesday. And that means that, like, they assign a post position, and then with regards to the rail on the track, the horse 1 is closest to the rail, horse 20 is furthest from the rail. And they do that randomly through a lottery system, through sort of like a bingo system. And they signed those yesterday. So we're going to start with post position number 1, and we're going to start talking about all the horses and everything that you need to know about these horses so you can make an intelligent wager come Saturday. So let's go ahead and get things started off here. Justin, Daddy Longlegs is the one first in the gate. This is a horse that kind of came over here from the UAE Derby. He's the champ over there. Mm-hmm. How well do these horses do when they ship over, and what do you think about this one?
Well, this barn hasn't had a lot of success in this race. Aidan O'Brien, the Coolmore people, they've been trying for years. They haven't quite done it yet. I don't think Daddy Longlegs is their best chance that they've ever sent over. I don't think he's going to run all that well. He ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile over this track last fall, finished 12th out of 13, so I don't like him in here.
In a very tough race. Doug, your thoughts?
Pretty similar. I think he's a classy horse. He obviously ran a nice UAE Derby over there, but his only dirt performance was at BC Juvenile, which was awful.
But he does have the longest win on the scorecard here, and there may be, with regards to his sireline Scat Daddy, maybe some questions getting the distance there, but I'm sure we'll get to that a little bit later. Moving on to number 2, Optimizer. Doug, this is Dwayne Lucas horse. What do you see in this one?
I really don't see a lot here. It's kind of tough to make a case for him. His speed figures are below, what all the other horses are, and I think Mike Battaglia's odds at 50-1 about sum it up for me.
But Justin, he's running some tough races. That can help him in this one?
I don't think so. You can never count out Dwayne Lucas. You really never should count out Dwayne Lucas. He's won some big races with improbable long shots before. I don't think this is going to be one of them.
Okay, moving right along, guys. We get to our first legitimate contender here with Take Charge Indy. This is a well-bred horse and ridden by Calvin Burrell and the winner of the Florida Derby. Certainly a lot to be excited about with this one.
Yeah, and Calvin Burrell, is going to drive his odds way down. Local connections too, trained by Pat Byrne. I wasn't that impressed with his Florida Derby win. I thought that 2 other horses in that race, who we'll talk about later, actually ran better than he did, even though he won. So I think Take Charge Indy has a chance. But I'm not going to be using him prominently on my tickets.
Now, he won the race. How can you say he had a bad race?
Well, I don't think he had a bad race, but I think El Padrino, it turned out, actually ran farther. El Padrino was wide around both turns, and Union Rags really was gaining ground at the end after being bottled up for much of the race. So I really think that Take Charge Indy ran the 3rd most impressive race of the horses that were in there. Plus, he kind of had it his own way up front. So, again, good horse that I won't be using.
And he probably needed to win that race more than Union Rags and El Padrino at the time to get into the Kentucky Derby. Doug, tell me about Take Charge Indy.
Okay, well, I'd like to use this opportunity, since we're actually talking about this horse for a while, to maybe explain a couple of things on these charts. There is it shows the pedigree and the dosage information, best buyer figure, and then the best pace figure is listed below that. The best Briz figure, they're a little bit more generous in their speed figures. And then, of course, my figures from the grid, the early pace and late pace. And then it shows the sire line. The sire, what he actually did, for example, AP Indy won the Belmont. He was cursed in the Derby, got a quarterback the day before. Hence the name AP Indy cursed, which is really the only problem I have with this horse. Other than that, he could finish 2nd or 3rd. I'm not going to put him in for the win, but he's certainly one of the classiest ones in the field.
And we certainly know that a lot of the curses, the quote curses, have been broken. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile curse was broken with Street Sense. The gelding quote curse was broken with Funny Side. So in the 2000s, a lot of these curses have fallen, including the lightly raced horses, which I'm sure we'll get to soon. Moving on to post position number 4, we have Union Rags. Certainly an awesome horse here, and a very scary horse, trained, speaking of Barbaro, by Barbaro's former trainer.
Yeah, Mike Matz. I think Union Rags is the most likely winner of this race. As I said a minute ago, talking about Take Charge Indy, I thought Union Rags ran the most impressive race in the Florida Derby. I thought he ran the most impressive race in defeat when he lost to Hansen, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year. So he's really only those 2 efforts away from being undefeated. He's been training very, very well. All the professional observers say that he has looked far and away better than any other horse out there. I think he's the most likely winner, but he also will be either the favorite or the 2nd favorite in the race. When you have 20 horses to choose from, there are some more attractive gambling options. So I think he's the most likely winner. I will be using him on all of my tickets, but I will not be betting on him to win because of the low odds.
Doug, Union Rags, he's back in your court now here. Dixie Union, can this one get it done in the Derby?
Well, this is definitely a key horse that I think you have to use. It doesn't have the AP Indy curse or the Storm Gag curse. Low odds, I don't like that, but of course he should have won the BC Juvenile, but it was kind of a soft pace. He's never run a bad race really at all. I mean, he's been in the money every time, and a lot of wins. And I think Mike Matz has him ready for this one. He's going to run big.
Okay, moving on to Dullahan. This horse wowed a lot of people there in Kentucky just a few weeks ago at the Bluegrass with his win there over tough horse Hansen. It's on a different surface, though, completely different surface. That was on poly track, and now we're moving over to dirt. You guys, Justin, how about Dullahan?
He's got 2 wins. Both of them were at Keeneland. He's raced a couple of times, actually 3 times on dirt, and he's never won. He's raced okay. He did finish 4th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year, losing to 3 horses that are in this race, the Kentucky Derby. But I don't think that dirt is going to be his best surface, and because of that, it's tough to really endorse him with a whole lot of confidence. A good horse, I just don't like him in here.
Doug, can we talk you into betting on Dullahan here, or you look look elsewhere?
Well, I'd like to add some insight, but I would probably just end up parroting Justin's comments. His odds are a little bit too low for me anyway, if I wanted to bet that way, and they probably will increase on Derby Day.
Is it possible that Hansen just took the race off since he wanted to get ready for the Derby, or do they always race to win?
Well, if you're asking me, no, I don't think Hansen took the race off. I don't think Polytrack's his best surface, though, either. I think if you put Hanson back on dirt like he was in the BC Juvenile, I think he's very fast. I don't think he let up that much at the end there, but as we know, he didn't need to win it.
All right. Do you think horses take races off, Justin?
Well, maybe not take races off, but they definitely, they know what the goal is. Well, maybe the horse doesn't, but the connections do. And I don't know that Hanson was primed for that effort. We'll talk about Hanson later, but I have different issues with him.
All right, we'll get to Hanson at post position 14 or so. And right now we have Bodemeister. This is your morning line favorite, ridden by Mike Smith. It's a Bob Baffert horse, very well bred and undefeated with a very impressive Arkansas Derby. Doug, I know you watch the Arkansas Derby very closely. Tell us about Bodemeister right out of the gate.
Well, out of the gate, he was fine. He set legitimate fractions, pretty fast fractions for a 9-furlong race, to be honest, especially as compared to the other Derby preps this year. And when he came into the stretch, it was like he kept running and the rest of the horses didn't. So it was very visually impressive. It kind of reminded me of Curlin's victory in the Arkansas Derby several years back, and we know that he ended up finishing third in the Kentucky Derby after his impressive Arkansas performance. This horse, what I have to say about this is primarily his pedigree. Empire Maker has the second highest competitive index of any sire. He was the highest for several years, many years since he started. Was overtaken by Bernardini this year, but he's still second in competitive index. This is a very good sire. Finished second in the Kentucky Derby himself, won the Belmont. Bodemeister has a bit different of a style. The front running style is the only problem I have with them running.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the way he broke from that gate kind of reminded me of Big Brown breaking from the gate in his Kentucky Derby. And this horse has never raced at age 2, Justin. Is that a big concern?
Well, he's raced 4 times in his career. He's won twice, he's lost twice. Both losses were times when he did not make the lead. I don't think he's going to make the lead in here. And if he does, he's going to get cooked. If he's up close to the early lead, I think he's going to get cooked. The fact that he hasn't raced, or didn't race as a 2-year-old, and no horse has won the Derby without having raced as a 2-year-old since 1882, 130 years, that's a factor, but just as strong a factor is the fact that his running style does not really play to this race, I don't think. And when you combine that with the low odds, either favorite or second favorite, he's a horse that I won't be using.
Isn't it funny what a difference one race made? If he raced one time as a 2-year-old and won or even came in second, you have a dominant favorite right here, but he's not.
Yep.
Moving on to Rousing Sermon. This is the first deep long shot we've had here. Rousing Sermon is a closer. He runs hard, fast at the end of races. And, that's the kind of running style I like here in the Derby. Is that going to make him a choice to hit the board here?
Well, I'm not sure how fast he runs or if he's just the last one to slow down in some cases or just clunking home a little bit faster than the others. I don't think he's a contender. I suppose anything can happen. No reason, I guess, he can't run 4th or 5th, but I don't consider him a serious contender to win or really hit the board.
Doug, you're going to be sitting in the audience for this sermon come 6:30 on Saturday?
I'm not waiting for this sermon too much. I think that he's one of the best of the plotters in this race, and he'll probably end up finishing, around half, around 10th or so in the field is my feeling.
Okay, next up we have Creative Cause. This has been a horse that is always in the mix. He always is, within either winning races or within a length of winning a race. He's very competitive. He's very fast. He's a Giants Causeway horse. He's trained by Mike Harrington, who a lot of people may not know a lot about, but this is a legit horse here. Justin, can these California horses win the Derby anymore?
Yeah, sure, and I think this one's got a good chance. I just think we've maybe seen the best of Creative Cause, and that maybe it's just not quite good enough to win this race. I wouldn't talk anybody out of betting him. I think he's got a chance. I think his running style is right. He's got good connections. The breeding is there for it. But you can't use all 20 horses. So I'm not going to be using Creative Cause prominently.
Doug, is this horse consistent enough? What does the grid tell you about this one?
The grid, actually, I believe the grid tells me that this is actually the most qualified horse to win the Derby. Of course, the grid also says that it's a Stormcat horse. There's never won the Derby, from the Stormcat sire line, which never won the Derby. The performance figures speak for themselves. This is definitely a key horse that I'm going to use. Stormcat does get a lot of horses to run second and third and fourth in the Derby. I will be using this as a key horse. Like you said, he's never run a bad race. He's won most of them, but never more than a length behind at the finish line in 8 lifetime starts. And I think that will repeat again this weekend. And
he drilled a 47-4 workout there at Churchill Downs, his first workout over the track on April 30th. Are workouts important to you, Justin?
They are, not so much the time, but how the professional observers say that they look doing it. And the professional observers, I think, have been saying Creative Cause has looked okay. Not good, not bad, just kind of okay. So that's that.
And I would ask Doug that question, but he turned into a stopwatch in 2008 when Tatara won the Belmont. So we'll move on to Trinenberg. Trinenberg is projected to set the early pace for this race. He's a very fast horse, but hasn't gone over 7 furlongs. Is he going to be able to go wire to wire like War Emblem back in 01 or 02?
I seriously doubt it.
Doug, do you have any? Can you make any case for this horse at all? He is the early speed that maybe attracted a lot of people to see a couple of wins in his last 2 races. The grade 3s over there at Aqueduct, the Bayshore, and the Swale. Can that translate to long-distance classic-style races?
No, not in this time frame. And he hasn't proven anything. He hasn't run over 7 furlongs, and my feeling is that he probably won't run over 7 furlongs again after this race. And he's actually, contrary to popular belief, he's not the fastest horse in the race early on. Fastest horse is still Hansen.
Okay.
So he's going to be trying to keep up with Hansen. He's going to be finished probably by about 7 furlongs.
But he'll actually break inside of Hansen, though, so won't that be to his advantage, and Hansen will have a hard time getting up to that lead?
It will be difficult for Hansen, but I think Hansen probably ends up taking the lead unless they try to hard rate him.
Okay, moving on to another Daddy horse. Don't get confused. We had Daddy Longlegs earlier. Now we have Daddy Knows Best. This is a horse a lot of people are getting excited about. He's trained by Steve Asmussen, a prominent trainer in the business, ridden by Garrett Gomez, a prominent jockey, and is coming in off a couple wins. Justin, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think of Daddy Longlegs? Daddy Knows Best.
Daddy Knows Best, yeah. Well, I'm going to be betting on him to win. I think that his last 2 races, both wins at 1 1/8, were kind of sneaky good. He's the only horse in the field with 2 wins at 1 1/8. He's one of 2 trained by Steve Asmussen. He gets he does lose his jockey to Union Rags, but he gets Garrett Gomez, who's no slouch. The odds are not going to be what I once thought they were going to be. This horse looked like he'd be 25 to 1 10 days ago, and now his morning line is 15 to 1. It's not going to surprise me if he's even lower than that, unfortunately. And if he creeps too much lower, I maybe won't bet him. But I will be betting on him, and I think he's got a very, very strong chance of winning.
And Andy Beyer announced him also recently. I don't know if you read his article yet, as one of his top 2 choices too. So that's going to carry a lot of weight as well. Doug, can any horse go through the Sunland Derby and win the Kentucky Derby?
Well, obviously they can if Mind That Bird did. However, I'm going to be hard-pressed to bet on any Stormcat horse to win the Derby because they never will. And especially a Scat Daddy, since he finished 18th in the Kentucky Derby, I like to look at what their sire did in the Kentucky Derby as well. I know he had a bad race that day, but I will probably never bet a horse named Daddy to win the Kentucky Derby.
You think Scat Daddy's going to have a problem with that distance, Justin? I think that distance on paper is a problem for this sire, but
it might be. His sire did not handle the Derby distance, but we'll see what happens.
And I like Scat Daddy. Actually, Doug and I saw Scat Daddy win one of his first races up at Saratoga as a 2-year-old. We're about halfway through the field here. I think we should take a break and drink a mint julep, but we don't have time to do that. Let's move on to number 11, Alpha. This is a horse that ran second to Gemologist in the Wood. Some people didn't think the Wood was really that impressive a race with Gemologist. What do you guys think about Alpha? He's done pretty well in most of his races.
Yeah, my only problem with Alpha is that he did have a slight injury in that race. I think he missed a day or 2 of training. There was some uncertainty about whether or not he even make the Kentucky Derby, and because of that, I'm not using him.
Doug, will Godolphin ever win a Kentucky Derby?
They may or they may not, but not with an AP Indy horse. So I'll probably be using him at 2 or 3 spot in my trifecta.
Does McLaughlin ever won a Derby? I don't know. He definitely won a Belmont.
He ran second with Spanish Chestnut in 05.
There you go. We bring you all the facts here that you want to know. Perspective. Okay. You guys, this is a horse that ran 6th in his last race on Polytrack, but other than that, he's run 1st and 2nd almost all of his races other than that 13, which was in the Juvenile, which you can expect a horse to have a bad race in. So he's always at the top, but is he doing that in good enough races to translate well for the Derby?
I don't think so. He's been winning against inferior competition, so I won't be using him.
Doug, perspective, you going to have him in there or toss him?
That's a toss-out for me.
Okay, went the day well. People are comparing this horse to Animal Kingdom like last year. Same trainer, same jock, different sire, maybe a better sire, arguably, and a horse that's won his last 2 races just like in almost identical races to Animal Kingdom last year. And it's actually the same owners as well, Team Valor International. Everything is the same except for the horse. Can this horse win the Kentucky Derby?
I think he can win, but I think there are others that are more likely in here, so I'll be using him kind of in the bottom of my exotics.
Doug, you got this guy as a winner?
Well, he's got the right sire line. Proud Citizen did finish 2nd in that Kentucky Derby in that fabled War Emblem front-running, the last front-running victory actually in the Kentucky Derby by War Emblem. And I find it hard to believe that Lightning would strike twice. 2 years in a row for the Grand Motion and this Valor team, coming out of the Spiral Stakes. But I'm not going to rule him out, and it would be a good long shot to have on top of a trifecta.
I think it's my best long shot play at the top of a try. And I'm even going to have him in the Super because I don't want to miss out on that kind of cash if he comes in. But we'll get to our bets later. We're moving on to Hanson. Doug, I know we've talked a lot about this horse already, but why don't you tell us why you like Hanson so much?
Okay, well, first of all, he's the only white horse, white colt in the Derby, so that's kind of interesting.
Which normally don't do well.
Other than that, he is the fastest horse in the Kentucky Derby. Everybody's pace figures are in agreement, including mine, Craig's, and Brisnet, that he is the fastest early running horse in the Kentucky Derby. But that's also kind of a liability, unless he's as good as War Emblem, like we said about Bodemeister. The last front running horse in the Kentucky Derby was War Emblem, and that was 10 years ago. It's hard to do. It's hard to wire that field. So that's his liability. Other than that, he's by AP Indy. So I'll be using him probably at second and third.
I don't think this race sets up well for him, Justin. What do you got here?
Are we talking about Hanson still?
Yes.
I'm not using Hanson.
Hanson to throw out. I think you either use him at the top or you completely throw him out. That's what you can do. Okay, Gemologist. At our Pool 1 show, I announced I was going to pick Gemologist as one of my selections. I did go ahead and place my bet on him. So I'm kind of locked in with Gemologist at 22-1, so I think I can diversify my portfolio and almost throw Gemologist out if I want to. He is undefeated, so that's great. I've got that going for me. A lot of people aren't sold on this horse for whatever reason, even though he's trained by Pletcher, he's bred by Tiznow, he's ridden by Pletcher's top jockey here. Why isn't this horse getting any respect?
Well, he is. He's probably going to be the third favorite in the race. He's undefeated. He's going to remind a lot of people of Super Saver. I think he's the second most likely winner. Very big chance.
And this does appear to be a Super Saver clone, Doug. Do you see it that way?
Not really. Kind of a different type of sire line. Tiznows are typically later blooming horses. We know Tiznow did win the Breeders' Cup Classic twice, but he didn't really get on that 3-year-old scene until later in the summer.
And he also bit off your arm at the stables there, too.
And he did bite me. Also, you're right. Tiznow did try to bite my arm off at the stable just for offering him a peppermint treat, which was very rude of him.
And that was Windstar Farms, incidentally.
But right. So, but this is certainly a very good horse. It's undefeated. Last two horses that came into the Kentucky Derby undefeated won the Kentucky Derby. So it's hard to knock him.
Okay, now we're going to my other pick. This is going to be my pick to win the Derby. This is El Padrino. This is another well-bred horse by Pulpit, and it's a Todd Pletcher trained horse, and he's got the highest Briz figure, and he's got a lot of late speed. Has done nothing but win until the last race, and has done pretty well. He did have one other loss there, I guess, or two. But anyway, this is a very classy horse. He's tough, and he lost his last race. Is that something I should be concerned about, Justin?
No, because I think the race, I think he ran very well. As I said earlier, he was wide kind of all the way around the track and tried to keep Union Rags bottled in. My problem with El Padrino is that professional workout observers have said he's not looked that good since his win in the Risen Star 2 races back. So I thought about using him seriously on top, but I've decided to throw him out because of observers.
And he has a nice braided mane, too, if you guys have seen the picture of him. Doug, El Padrino, am I going to get a winner here at a good price?
Well, this is one of the best closers in the Kentucky Derby field this year. But again, with the AP Indy curse, the best he's going to finish is second.
All right, you heard it there from Doug. Done talking, guys. This is another long shot. Any chance?
Only if every other horse in the race stops very early. I think he's one of the least likely winners of the race. But that being said, he could finish in the top 6 or 7, I guess, if everybody stops.
Doug, you don't got anything on done talking, do you? You're done talking.
I'm done talking about it already.
All right, we got a couple minutes left here, guys. We have 3 horses left to go through. We'll burn through them really fast because they're kind of on the outside here. Maybe Saber Cat is another one of your Asmussen horses. I know you kind of like this one, Justin. Why don't you tell us why we should use this horse?
Well, he showed some interest late in the Arkansas Derby. He never got close to Bodemeister. In fact, he lost ground late to Bodemeister. But I think he did show some interest, and because of the pace set up in this race, I think he's got a chance to come on late and maybe hit the board.
A lot of horses will lose ground to Bodemeister, though, no doubt, so no shame there. Doug, Saber Cat, you going to use him?
I don't have much interest in this horse.
Okay, moving on. It's Bluegrass Cat. We know how much you love that one. Moving on to I'll Have Another, the winner of the Santa Anita Derby by Nose Over Creative Cause. Again, another California horse. This is Doug O'Neill horse, and perhaps a legitimate contender here.
He is a legitimate contender, and I at one point thought I might be using him on top in this race. His jockey's never ridden in this race before. He had, I think, over 2 months rest between the Lewis, which he won, and the Santa Anita Derby. I'm worried he might regress here, so I'm not using him prominently. He will be on some of my tickets, but not on top.
Doug, are you going to use this one?
Well, he has the right sire line for a Kentucky Derby champion, and he did come off first in the Santa Anita Derby, so I think I will be using him.
Okay, Liaison is a throw out in my books. Anybody have any plans on using him at all?
Yeah, I'm scared because Bob Baffert has him in here. You always got to respect Baffert, and he said that Liaison did not like the Santa Anita track, and because of that, I'm too afraid of him to dismiss him completely. But he looks hopeless on paper.
Doug, you got him in there?
It's difficult to really not use him, like Justin said. In the longer half of an uncoupled entry by the same trainer is usually a very big danger in the race.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
And that's why I like El Padrino. Let's move on. Real quickly, if any of these horses scratches, is My Donna's worth using?
I would say no.
Doug? We'll move on to our bets for the Derby. I will let you go first. Doug, since you're on Skype there in case we have to cut out on you, why don't you go ahead and tell us what your Derby bets are? You have about 30 seconds to do it.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of just put the ones with the right sire line there at the top. Those are my winning contenders, the ones that aren't by Stormcat or AP Indy that are actually contenders. And I'll primarily only use about 3 of those. I will be using all 4 of those AP Indy horses that I listed, and I'll probably only use 2 of the Stormcat contenders, Creative Cause and Daddy Knows Best, and then I'll mix them up by wheeling those winning contenders at the top and mixing up those API and Stormcats there.
Okay, and you'll have to watch this race again and make sure you get all the bets in here. Justin, how are you going to bet this race?
Daddy Knows Best to win in place. Union Rags, Gemologist, and Sabercat with some of my exotic plays, but I like Daddy Knows Best.
Okay, real quickly, this is how I plan on playing it. I got my win place bets on El Padrino. I'm also to key El Padrino with Union Rags, Want the Day Well on top, and then maybe some other horses like Creative Cause, Bodemeister, maybe even Jamalis, Rousing Sermon, and Alpha on the bottom part of the trifectas and the superfectas. That's how I'm hoping to cash a winning Derby ticket. But, it's going to be great. Any last thoughts on the Derby, Justin, before we go?
It's going to be fun. See you Saturday.
Drink some mint juleps. Doug, have a mint julep and a cigar there. Enjoy the races. And, it's been great. We'll get some bets in. Hope you guys all have winning tickets. And that'll do it. We'll see you back here for the Preakness.
That's right.
Justin, good to see you again. Doug, thanks for joining us. And good luck on the Derby, and we'll see you guys next time on Fantasy Sports Review. Goodbye, everybody.
Love.